Debate live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by Neil, Sensual Goat, Duncan, OK Computer, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server, so welcome one and all.
Hello.
Good morning,
Bonjour.
good afternoon, guys.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Where do you think you are?
Anywhere but here.
Got a couple of videos to cover today, so shout out to 10th Man, who sent me a video of I think it's an ex-astronaut, maybe it's a cosmonaut, I don't know, I'll have to check. I'm completely fresh to it, so we'll be doing a green response. But as is always the case with 10th Man's suggestion, they tend to work out very well. But we've also got another one from, was it Sensual Goat, or was it you, Mush, that provided the other one? Flat Earth Theory Debunked with Science.
Yeah. You always get us two mixed up and we're nothing alike, mate.
I know, it's the names. They get, you know, Sensual Goat, Mighty Mush, they're kind of, you know,
Nothing
Really?
alike.
kind of nothing alike,
exactly.
but sound the same to me. It's all good. Should we do a couple of housekeeping questions though in the meantime? Everyone keen? Everyone warmed up from the pre-show?
Run it.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
What do you mean presupposed?
I mean, you've got to beg the question of an antipodal positioned system that's derived from flat Earth measurements to then have an explanation within that explanation of a molten iron core producing the magnetic field lines that we do experience. You've got to assume
You mean
the
that
globe.
place where?
Go ahead.
You mean that place where they go to take angles from?
Yeah. I mean, no, because no one's going into hell to take angle measurements. You've got to transpose the angle measurements off a curved surface that won't give you an angle into hell to make it work at the equatorial plane, so it matches up with the plane that you measure versus a plane that you haven't got the measurement from on the curved surface. Yeah, that requires transposition and a lot of justification for a process that doesn't actually require that to be done. It's completely surplus to the requirements of calculations after measuring the Earth flat with elevation angles. But there we go. No one's in hell.
And molten iron is too hot to create a magnetic field. So
Yeah, it's beyond the Curie point. It does kind of beg the question that we've got one to discuss how the one that we haven't got wouldn't work. But nevertheless, the assumption of a spherical core that's been increased in size to work with the current timeline, with a backstory of another planet called Theia smashing into it, a glancing blow, depositing its molten iron core, and the leftover combined planetary debris is coalescing around Earth to form the moon. That's their story, because they made it up themselves.
Wow.
Speaking of the assumption, any evidence of the R value, Earth radius?
You're gonna need a flat Earth for that.
You will. You get that measurement from measuring a flat Earth. That's correct, Neil.
Yeah, but Nathan, everything is gonna change when they go to Antarctica.
Oh, here we go. Speaking of which, I crapped out a video that took me about 25 minutes to do because we've already covered this subject, right? We've done plenty of live streams that cover the final quote-unquote experiment, which it's not. It's fraud. Well, because we've covered it so many times, I just had to go back to the most recent coverage of that because I've covered the same thing every time I've discussed it. the antipodal assumption, the begging the question fallacy, and the false dichotomy that they are utilising when they say they're going to go down, down to the bottom of a ball you're already assuming you're on. Well, you're going to need to dress that up in an affirming the consequent. If P, then Q, Q, therefore P. If I assume Earth's a ball, I'll travel to the bottom of it, and then Q, observe 24-hour sun. Q, I have observed 24-hour sun. Therefore P, I'm on a ball that I assumed when I travelled down and assumed I was on the bottom of it and started looking at the sun and that. Yeah, that would also be worthy of masking with a false dichotomy. But I've got your flat Earth model to put next to it so you don't notice I'm automatically assuming the Earth's a globe on the other side of the false dichotomy. Now, as I say, I managed to crap out a video about that in 25 minutes. What Will Duffy did was went through 10 years of back material to find one instance when I first got here about 9 years ago, saying, look, there's an ice wall. Oh, it'd be cool to go there. Me with long hair, looking like I'm about 12 years old, with no acoustic treatment, crap camera, crap mic. One of the very earliest videos I've made. So he's gone all the way back through 10 years of material to find one little clip to justify asking if I'm going to go. To what? Help you commit fraud? You're assuming antipodal positioning to beg the question of a sphere Earth you're claiming to be proving when you look at something that isn't the Earth, and then suggest that the observation that isn't the Earth proves the assumption that Earth's a sphere because you travelled to the bottom of it before you did a damn thing. No, I'm not going to help Will Duffy in his fraud. Definitely not. But thanks for going back through 10 years of material, Duffy, to go and find your little tidbit there. Maybe you could contact 2015 Nathan and see if he gives a crap. So check out my video. It was very easy to put together. It didn't require me trawling through any of Will Duffy's material. In fact, I don't think I've ever been to his channel. Meanwhile, you've got an antipodal assumption that needs justification. Now, as a result of him offering a trip to Antarctica based on a sponsor paying up the money to take me there, yeah, if I was in a position to absolutely despise my opponent because they were right, I'd maybe want to send them to Antarctica too, lads. Shocking. You want to send me to the, what, bottom of a ball that I'm going to assume alongside Jaren in this fraud? No, but I have now called the guy inviting me a fraud. So given that maybe I haven't actually turned him down officially, I've just called him a fraud, maybe you can address that. I mean, there's 30k on the line from a sponsor, apparently. So perhaps Will Duffy can address my claims of fraud. Not an experiment. Potentially going to observe a phenomena and then utilise antipodal begging the question assumptions to suggest that Antarctica's on the bottom of a ball, but you won't notice if I stack it up against a azimuthal equidistant projection. That's fraud! But now there's 30k involved with my name next to it. So you better damn well address that fraud. Right, Duffy? Will I help you in your fraud? Well, we'll see. Maybe you'll address it, maybe you won't. I couldn't give a crap. I already know the fallacies that are being used. I've discussed them half a dozen times on different streams. Has he addressed a single one of them? No, he's gone back through 10 years of back catalogue to find a little clip where I go, wouldn't it be cool to go to Antarctica when I'm looking at pictures of Antarctica? Yeah, maybe 2015. Non-dad, non-married Nathan. Maybe I was married, I can't quite remember. I should know how long I've been married. But that guy, maybe he, with his hair, did want to go to Antarctica. Meanwhile, 2024 Nathan's calling you a fraud. I'm sure your sponsor would want that addressing. So check out my video. It's called Will Duffy Get Nathan's Help in Committing Fraud? That's the name of the video. And we've got a couple more to cover today. Fun, fun, fun. It's going to be a ramma-jamma ding-dong fun-packed show today because we're going to be covering this, which is... I should actually have the videographer out. Jack Gordon is the name of the YouTube channel, so we'll stick a share in the YouTube live stream chat. If you are watching this live, or indeed if you're watching after the fact and the live stream chat has been rendered, then toddle along to Jack Gordon's channel And just let him know, at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me with a polite, non-swearing, non-abusive comment that won't hopefully therefore get removed. And just let him know, we've responded to his video. I don't know if it's going to be positive. It might be that we absolutely love the material and therefore want to absolutely endorse subscribing to this gentleman. I don't know. Like I say, we're responding to this completely green. So I don't know if anybody else has watched this video. No, Nathan, we don't know what it is either. Well, we're all going to be green, aren't we? We're all fresh and none of us know how it's going to go. But we will see.
Hello, everyone. I'm astronaut Charlie Duke. I was lunar module pilot on Apollo 16 in 1972.
Oh, well, it didn't take long for me to be able to pause the video and call this grinning old man a liar. You're claiming that you've been on a surface of a moon that would involve a journey through a violation of natural law sky vacuum. So you're a liar. What you're now going to do on camera for your audience is lie to them.
Okay, let me take a picture for you, Charlie. Where at? How much? That's okay.
Why do they need these spacesuits? Is it so that the high pressure gas they're breathing contained in these packs, apparently? I mean, I'm pretty sure these are costumes on a soundstage, but nevertheless, we won't get into that. Let's pretend that they're real. And in the narrative, they need to keep the high pressure gas inside the spacesuit. Okay. But aren't they also claiming to look back at a blue marble that's got high pressure gas with clouds in it, not dispersing into a 10 to the minus 17 torr sky vacuum that you just travelled through? Well, that would be a violation of the second law of thermodynamics now, wouldn't it? You know, if your gas would expand out of that suit if you didn't have it, so would the gas on Earth that you're claiming to take pictures of. But we already know that this area you're claiming to be in these grainy, crappy pictures isn't real. It's Narnia by equivalence. So you saying you've been through the wardrobe, that's a sky vacuum, to go and talk to Aslan on the moon is a complete fabrication. It's a lie. And this man damn well knows it.
12 people in human history have walked on the moon, and
no men have ever walked on the moon. You can't walk on a rock that's a light in the sky. There aren't rocks in the sky. The sky is not a vacuum. If this man that you believe, because you're gullible, travelled through a sky vacuum, then the gas we are all breathing could also travel into the same area the rocket went into. And that's exactly what gas would do. It's a law of nature, the second law of thermodynamics. Gas dispersion. This is one of the few times, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, we can actually call people liars.
only 4 are alive today. He's the youngest. And this is a moon landing denier that Charlie's about to react to for the first time.
Oh, right. We'll definitely let this guy know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Because we're going to have some garbage straw man offered up from some completely incompetent potential moon landing denier, where I use a law of nature to debunk the journey. He didn't travel through the high pressure gas and then wave goodbye to it to take pictures of it, where he would need a suit to stop the same thing happening to him. That makes him an outright liar. Let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
Because I've spent the last week hearing out every theory about why the moon landings are fake.
Do you believe in the moon landings?
No. No.
I don't really believe in that.
They could be real, they could not.
With 18% of people thinking it's fake.
There's a race between America and Russia, so they...
Sorry, this is an appeal to consensus fallacy. I couldn't give a crap if every single person except me thought it was true. It wouldn't alter the second law of thermodynamics violation gas behaviour that would dissipate into the area they're claiming to travel through in a rocket. Doesn't matter if every person on the flat plane we dwell atop didn't know that. I do. This is an appeal to consensus fallacy. It's pathetic.
They kind of faked it.
It's capping. He's fake. No, I don't. They could have been AI, nobody knows.
And some conspiracy theorists feeling really strongly about it.
Check out the Joe Rogan podcast, or anybody that's got the video of when their feet are like in the air. It's like, come on, man.
Charlie's going to...
So the argument that's been offered within the first minute of the video is, look at the video on Joe Rogan, they've got their feet in the air. Is that the consistency of the argument so far that's been presented? This is your lead. This is your hook. Oh, right. I don't think this old Todger's going to be particularly fazed by a man saying, it's fake because the pictures look fake. That's not a very strong argument. Unlike the strength of gas pressure expanding into a high vacuum where he's claimed to have travelled, because we'd all be dead, making him an outright liar. Whether or not that'll be put to him ever, I don't know. But I'm sure he'll cope quite happily with Joe Rogan's look there's feet in the air.
To debunk the four most common conspiracy theories today. But first, let's hear how he actually became an astronaut.
Who wants to bet that second law of thermodynamics won't appear on this list? Anybody?
£5.
£5?
I'll take that bet, yeah. Dollars to donuts.
Dollars to donuts, there won't be the gas we're breathing would fill the available volume that he's claimed to travel through as one of these most popular conspiracy arguments. Poisoning the well fallacy.
September of 65, there was an article in the LA Times said NASA's looking for another group of astronauts, so I applied and got selected.
Who gives a crap? You're a lying old sod. I don't give a crap about how you got recruited. Prove you went to space. Because this is completely devoid of any fascination for me. The subject on the table is, did you go to a sky vacuum in violation of natural law or not?
And we reported in April of 66. There were 19 of us.
Charlie started as a member of the Air Force, and
who cares? Did he go to space or not? I don't need his resume. The behavioural panel described... Go on.
Right, it's like reverse poisoning of the well now. They're like building up his credibility just to, you know...
You drop and rejoin, Duncan. You sound like you're underwater, mate. Can you just drop and rejoin?
After applying and getting interviewed by the first...
Go ahead.
Sorry, if he's in the Air Force before becoming a quote-unquote astronaut, then he's already knows and he utilised Earth as a flat plane of reference.
Yeah, he's maintaining his altitude above sea level in the Air Force.
First American in space, Alan B. Shepard, he was selected by NASA to be an Apollo astronaut. Pictured here is all 24 people that took part in the Apollo missions.
If any of these guys claim to have been in space, then they're all liars. Dead or not, I don't care. Yes, I'll happily sully their name in death. Because they're liars. Nothing will change that. Go ahead, Duncan.
Mic check.
Yeah, much better.
It's like a reverse poisoning of the well, is what I was saying. He's they're just building up his credibility before they present their non-evidence.
Yeah, I was going to back that. Behavioural panel have a similar term for this. They call it a resume statement. You're asked about something specific, you're there to argue a particular case. So you get your backstory of how well qualified you are. Don't need it.
There's Charlie, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and everyone else.
No, the ones you listed are all liars.
These men had a very special task.
To lie to the world about travelling through a sky vacuum to a rock that's actually a light in the sky. That was their task.
They would be, and still are, the only people in human history to travel beyond low Earth orbit.
They still
a low Earth orbit, so like going beyond the Roman Catholics' idea of the Earth falling around the sun in this motion that was advanced in terms of Kepler's ideas of it being elliptical. Those mathematics are what this man is claimed to go beyond. No, that's a reification fallacy. You can't go beyond Kepler's elliptical orbital motion. Meanwhile, the gas would fill the space. The space he's claiming to travel through, we wouldn't be living if the sky was a vacuum. Go ahead, D-Rose.
Nothing. I was saying good morning, thumbs up, clapping, whatever you're saying. That's how I show you that I concur. That's all. But good morning, afternoon.
started
whatever.
geology training right away, within a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
And we were picked for Apollo, so if we went to the moon, we were supposed to know what kind of rocks to pick up. So we started just extensive geology training. That from
Still in the resume statement. So if you're going to lie, people find it difficult and mentally exhausting to lie. So what do? You pull on the things that you can tell that are true. This is a man that should be telling us about his experience that's beyond our capabilities of understanding. I can easily envisage you on some earthly surface digging up rocks in training. Don't care.
For me, lasted for 6 years until I flew to the moon.
You didn't fly to the moon. You're a lying old sod. Yeah? Now you're a liar and I can just call you one. Before you flew to the moon, you did not. That would involve a defiance of entropy law, second law of thermodynamics, gas dispersion. We wouldn't have any gas to breathe if you had went to the moon. You're a liar.
Oh.
I know why 10th gave me this. He knew it would irritate me in the way it has. Shout out to you, 10th. You knew the reaction you were going to get. This is it. They're liars. There's no other way to describe it. Should we pause here for a minute to discuss that fact? Shout out to Goldie, who gifted a membership. Shout out to Random Hero, who picked it up. No? Nobody wants to discuss it further? Okay, we'll just carry on then.
How are you guys doing?
We're doing fantastic. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Oh, no problem, man. My pleasure.
Christian
Bluff
is our first moon landing denier, presenting the first theory for Charlie to debunk.
No crap. Needed to get this up to ad revenue standards to due in length. What's going on? Do we need this fluff? We know he's the first guy. He's the first guy. What's he got to offer?
How much fuel exactly? This is a new one for me. Like, some engineer did the math, and like, it just doesn't add up. They should have a lot more fuel.
Should they? So the calculations for the necessity to have fuel when travelling through an area that isn't real, this is comparison to how many packed lunches did they take through the wardrobe. Some mathematicians have said that they didn't have enough carbohydrates to sustain their body temperature in the snow in Narnia. Is it true that they didn't have enough packed lunches when they went through the wardrobe? Yeah, the fuel quantity that is required to travel to a distance that's an extrapolation from the mathematics of the church. Where do you think you get the values for the claimed distance and therefore claimed requirements of fuel? They control all of it. They've scaled the distance with Huygens and Kepler. It's their values. They say how far it is. Well, how far something is would require travelling to it. And that journey involves violating the second law of thermodynamics. But let's focus on whether or not rockets will work in space and how much fuel they'll use. Yeah? Very easily overcome by a lying old codger, which is precisely what we'll watch now.
If they're going to go all the way to the moon in that big honky chunk, it just doesn't.
All the way to the moon is a value in a fantasy journey that's been derived from the Keplerian orbital motion mathematics scaled by Huygens. They control the values. Where did they get the values from? Oh, they needed an R value to start that process of a spherical Earth in orbital motion around the sun to give us our distances scaled by Huygens. But he'd need an R value. I wonder where he got that. Oh, he'll have got it by measuring Earth flat. Like all of Earth's measurements that turn into spheres.
Add up. They should have way more fuel.
Okay.
The fuel budget, we had limited fuel. You had enough fuel to go into lunar orbit.
No, you didn't go into lunar orbit, you lying old sod. Yeah, orbits is a maths that came from the church. You didn't enter into a mathematical reification and travel to a place that doesn't exist, mate. You weren't in Narnia. Nobody went through the wardrobe. Nobody traversed high-pressure gas into a vacuum. You're just a liar. God, this is an outrage.
To slow down. Going to the moon, you don't burn any fuel.
This, I think, is one of the most commonly misunderstood parts about space travel in general.
No, we're not misunderstanding anything. There isn't any space travel. There's no journeys through sky vacuums. So you can look back at high-pressure gas on a blue marble not expanding into a vacuum. You're just naive.
Probably the reason it seems so impossible that we'd be able to go to the moon in the first place.
No, you can't. You can't travel to a rock in the sky. There aren't rocks in the sky. There's lights. And the claimed journey is involving a traversing of a vacuum. We'd all be dead. The gas we're breathing would fill the space.
It seems so high-tech to be able to take a rocket all the way to the moon when airplanes have to refuel at every airport. But what people fail to realize is that once you start going in space...
Once you're in Narnia, the sandwiches last 10 times longer. It's not like sandwiches work the same here as they do beyond the wardrobe in Narnia. One sandwich works with their very distorted version of time. They think they're getting older, but they're not. That's why they're young when they come back. But that ultimately means that a sandwich, the fuel they're burning in Narnia, goes a lot further than you might expect here on the ground. Like when the aeroplane pilots are eating their packed lunches.
You don't stop. There's no air resistance because there's no air. If I threw...
So there's no air? What are you breathing? So there's no air where this story took place, but they need to breathe, don't they? So let me get it straight. We're breathing air, and the area that they're claiming this story takes place in, there isn't any. Well, surely the air that we're breathing would just vacate from the area that it's in currently and go into that area that they're claiming to travel in. It's not like the wardrobe doors are airtight. You know what I mean?
Threw a tennis ball at the moon from space, it would just keep going unless it hit something.
No, that's Keplerian orbital motions that you're describing. Yeah?
And that's actually what gas would do.
Yes, that's what the gas would do. Good point. Shit slipped me by. Well done. Glad you're here. Yeah, that's what the gas would do. See this? What's this? This is a cloud, right? Formed from water vapour and other gases surrounding the blue marble. What's this claimed to be? Is this claimed to be a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum? I mean, I'm pretty certain that all of the gas on this blue marble would just immediately dissipate into the vacuum if it were real. But of course, this is claimed to be a picture taken from a man in a spacesuit holding a camera. Now, the spacesuit's needed to heap his gas in, but obviously Earth doesn't need anything like that. The gas can just... It literally exists right next to a vacuum in this picture. It's complete horse crap.
Until
my granddad tells
there.
me of
So
friends of his that he goes to visit in an old people's home, and they have dreams and hallucinations that they reify into reality. And this gentleman, unfortunately, reminds me of that.
It's worse than that with the old astronaut, though. He's just been lying through his back teeth his entire life.
As soon as the rocket is going fast enough, it can just point itself at the moon and it won't stop until the pilots turn on their anti-thrust to...
Do gas particles have anti-thrust? How do the gas particles stop doing that? I mean, they're travelling in a high rate of speed in a given vector until they collide with something. So they get all the way to the top. They're at the Kármán line. There's a rocket right next to them. Do they just turn on their anti-thrusters? Do the gas particles do that? Or do they obey laws of nature in their behaviour? That is to say, they continue in whatever vector they're travelling until something impedes them. I'm pretty sure it's the latter. So, as I keep pointing out, there are no anti-thrusters on gas. Gas must be contained for it to develop pressure. If the sky was a vacuum, we wouldn't have anything to breathe. But now we're going to enter into that Narnia-like area of a sky vacuum to continue this story, no doubt, with a lying old sod to tell it.
Slow them down once they've reached their destination. That's just how traveling in space works.
When you get to the moon, you're going...
Like travelling in space, like gas does. There's gas all around you travelling in space. There's nothing but space around it for it to travel through. They're unbonded. They're not connected to each other. All they do is bounce around off anything that they've got to collide with or each other, and that's all they do. So, where is this area that this guy's about to tell us again? Yeah, it's beyond the wardrobe. It's in Narnia. It doesn't exist, but he's about to lie through his back teeth about having gone there.
Going probably 6,000 miles an hour, thereabouts, and you have to slow... But
no, he didn't go 6,000 miles an hour. This is all lies. You're a liar.
That's too fast to go into orbit, and that trajectory would design...
You don't go into orbit. You can't go into reified church mathematics.
Because you had only limited fuel in the service module. They shot you out in front of the Earth, and it took you 72 hours to get there.
Like the gas would all do. Amazing, isn't it? It's like you can show a journey that goes out without any impedance. They're not going through a hatch. They just leave the surface and go straight to the moon, through the vacuum, like all the gas would do.
If they just fired you right towards the moon, you got there in 12 hours. But you're going so fast, you can't...
Did he say you'd get there in 12 hours? Past future tense. I've forgotten if that's the correct term. But you wouldn't use that tense if you'd actually done it.
Out in front of the Earth. And
this is what an individual gas particle would do, ladies and gentlemen. If the Earth was a sphere, it would come out of the ground. I don't know about this U-turn. But it would bugger off into space. This is what every single gas particle in existence would do. Like they claim rockets can do. I mean, they're claiming that the rocket can do it. But the gas, it just kind of hovers around by the vacuum. No worries. You've all been duped. This man's a liar. This is how you were duped by liars. Just men.
And it took you 72 hours to get there. If
it took you 72 hours to get there. Why not it took me? It's supposed to be his story, isn't it? We'll brush past this.
They just fired you right towards the moon, you got there in 12 hours.
They just fired you to the moon. Again, he's talking about how I would experience this. When he was talking about his experience in training, it was about him and how he experienced it as a first-hand account. Now we're moving into how we colloquially would experience this by his description. Notice the subtle difference.
But you're going so fast.
You're going... Shut up, Neil. You're going so fast. No, that is not the context that you would give it if this was true. This is how you have managed to lie about it. It's how you've cognitively processed this. To describe it as the interviewer would experience it. No, you shouldn't be saying that. You can't say, I went 6,000 miles an hour, because you did not. You are a liar, aren't you, old man? You'll go to hell for this. You deceitful old sod.
You don't have enough fuel to slow down.
You don't have enough fuel to slow down. What do you mean I wouldn't have had enough fuel to slow down when I did this? No, it's very difficult to state outright overt lies to another man. That's very difficult cognitively to do. So what does he do? He repackages it in a story and description of how the interviewer would experience it. How you wouldn't have enough fuel to slow down. Garbage.
So gravity Earth slows you down, then when you get...
Does it? The bent geodesic in Einstein space-time, second reification. No, Einsteinian mathematics of a invention of a fourth-dimensional geodesic bent space-time as a result of the uneven distribution of mass doesn't slow anything down.
Get started getting to lunar gravity, you start to accelerate, but you're not going too fast that you can't.
It's still describing it like the interviewer's doing this. Is it the interviewer doing this journey?
Can't slow down with the fuel you have on board. Oh.
You have on board. Did the interviewer have this fuel on board then? He's pointing at the interviewer like it's him doing it. That's because you're a lying old sod, isn't it, old man? Yeah, I'm going to call you on it. Yeah, I've got no shame in calling you for what you are. A deceitful old sod. You'll soon meet the anti-maker in hell for what you've done, poisoned humanity with deceit about the heavens. You deserve it.
All this was designed, planned out, and then get out of orbit and come home.
The crew aimed the rocket to pass in front of Earth after finishing its orbit, therefore catching a little bit of Earth's gravity.
Wait, what? Catching gravity? Do you catch bent geodesics in space-time, do you? You haven't got a clue what you're babbling about, mate. Neither has the astronaut.
And slowing it down. Earth's gravity slowed it down just...
Did it? What, with its bent geodesics? How do bent geodesics slow things down? You want to explain that to me and then show me a fourth dimension, then show me it bending? If you can't, I'm just going to disregard this as utter garbage.
Just enough where when it reached the moon, it...
No one's reached the moon. You've just been duped by liars, men who lie about going to Narnia, a sky vacuum where gas isn't filling, in violation of natural law. You're a sucker.
Wouldn't have to use nearly as much fuel to get itself...
Really is a red herring.
...slow enough where...
This is a red herring.
It would be able to make a safe descent. Unless they did bring a ridiculous amount of fuel, like...
Oh, what, into the sky vacuum that doesn't exist? Unless they did bring extra sandwiches through the wardrobe.
denier Christian is referencing. But since Christian is right and they didn't, this was the method NASA scientists spent years developing to allow them to get to the moon on such little fuel.
Because that's what he said. Where's the evidentiary standard to back it? Oh, because you accept what he says.
Christian,
I gotcha. So you're a total globe cook.
Isn't right, of course, that the whole thing was faked.
Unless it isn't right, well, you didn't provide any standards of evidence to actually back the first statement. So in other words, it's still in ambiguity because you haven't proven it. Yeah, honest of you to declare that. But aren't you supposed to be proving that it did go? The liar.
When you look at that technology, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
It's so insane how many people don't believe in the moon landing. These people fall into the conspiracy theory rabbit hole. And
poisoning the well fallacy. Also a non sequitur fallacy. And an ad hom fallacy. If he's responding to a guy saying that the technology isn't good enough to do it, I mean, I'm not going to argue with that crap argument, but that's still an ad hominem fallacy if you're going to poison the well, tell people how crap they are in terms of their logic. The conspiracy theory, how is that a response to they haven't got the technology?
Social media platforms just continue to serve them what they want.
But there
non sequitur
is a site in an app called Ground News, founded by a former NASA engineer, that
I'm partnering with for this video that gathers related articles from thousands of sources around
another appeal to consensus fallacy.
The world in one place to create comprehensive story overviews. Each article.
Oh, this is him getting money from the YouTube algorithm, sending every single view that's searching for Flat Earth to him so he can monetize it effectively and get sponsorship for doing so as he employs a load of fallacies.
Will also say this, and Ground News, my news source for
Skyfall Fiber.
Off the same vantage plan.
At least there's literally no sources of light outside of what's directly in front of them. Almost like it is a soundstage. You know, the lights are directed directly down on them.
This is an interesting point. When you imagine space, you generally think about...
Why would we be imagining it? I mean, it'd be nice if we had a first-hand account that wasn't described as though it was the interviewer actually experiencing what he experienced, as phrased by the astronaut who said, you would run out of fuel, you would need this amount and that amount. But now we need to imagine space. I can see the stars. It's just not a vacuum. Because the gas I'm breathing would be filling the area if it was a vast area of empty space, 10 to the minus 17 tour, as is claimed to have been journeyed through by this lying astronaut. But now we're in imagination land, says the narrator. No, I'm not good with that. No, I don't think I'll do that.
All the stars in the sky, but in the moon landing photos...
Got a backdrop. Yeah, we have. That's a backdrop. See this line? This is a curtain. This is painted. This is near foreground. This is a sound stage. Do you know how I know? Because I painted backdrops. That's what I did at college. Not just painted backdrops, but I painted plenty of backdrops. That's what this is. Comparable to the Wizard of Oz, where if you don't know what you're looking for, it looks like the yellow brick roads going into the distance. But if you know what a backdrop looks like, you know it's painted onto the background. Precisely like the moon landing. How do I know that they would absolutely necessarily need to fake the moon landing on a soundstage? Well, because they're not going to be filming Narnia either. Let's pretend for 1 second that this is a picture of Narnia. Now, do I need to prove that there's a set involved with filming Narnia? No. Narnia's not real. Don't need to disprove there's wardrobe travel. It's on a set. It can only be on a set because we can't travel through sky vacuums. They can only have faked it.
The sky is darker than my heart would be if I found out the moon landings were fake.
A darker, like 10 to the minus 17 tour vacuum kind of dark. That kind of dark. False comparison fallacy.
Which, luckily, they aren't, but this still doesn't make any sense to me. Here's what Charlie said.
Well, it's not true because the sun's shining. You're on the moon and the brightness of the lunar surface is really overwhelming. So you had 2 sun visors on, and the sun is shining all the time when you're on.
That's an affirming the consequent fallacy. If we travel to the moon via a sky vacuum, then there'll have been light intensity that would require extra precautions with the sky suit visors. We had extra special sky suit visors, therefore we took a trip through a sky vacuum to the moon. This is affirming the consequent fallacy. If sun visors, then moon travel. Visors, therefore moon travel.
On the moon.
It gets a little confusing because the sky doesn't turn blue when it's daytime on the moon like it does here, but that's...
Sorry, no one's been to the moon to confirm this. Yeah? You don't know what would be happening on a place you can't travel to appeal to it.
just because the moon doesn't have an atmosphere.
An atmo what now? What's an atmo? That means air. Sphere, that's a shape. Does air arbitrarily take the shape of a sphere? Son, maybe you could fart and get it to take a sphere shape for us all. Can you do that, lad? Can you show me a sphere-shaped fart? Like gas taking a sphere shape? Because gas doesn't do that. Gas takes the shape of its containment. It expands in all directions and then only changes vector when it collides with another gas particle or the walls of its containment. Now, if for the sake of argument there was no containment, then the gas would carry on in whatever vector into the area of volume. But you're under the misapprehension that the moon wouldn't have a comparable sphere-shaped air around it? That seems kind of crazy.
The reason we don't see stars during the day on Earth is the same reason we don't see them on the moon. It has nothing to do with the color of the sky. Our sky only appears blue because the molecules that our atmosphere is made out of scatter.
Well, here we go again. We're going to describe what the molecules of gas that expand at a high rate of speed in all directions to fill the volume that they've got available to them are going to do when you describe them in a term that's oxymoronic. Atmosphere, sphere-shaped air? No, son. No, you seem to be involved in zealotry here.
Scatter the white light that is the sun into a blue shade.
When you get to the moon and you go behind...
When who? The interviewer gets to the moon? You telling the interviewer what he'll experience when he gets to the moon? Shouldn't you be telling us what happened to you when you got to the moon? Seems very interesting that you're continuing in this phraseology. It's probably just a tell. Like a way of letting me know that you absolutely know that you're lying, don't you, old man? Or you'd be telling us how you experienced this. But you didn't, did you? So better to tell the interviewer how he would experience it, right? Because then it's just hypothetical, you lying old codger.
And the moon, and the night on the moon, you look out and you can see.
You look out, do you? Did he? Did he, old man? Did he look out? Or did you? I'd be expecting you to tell me how you looked out, but you're not, are you? You can't. It's too difficult cognitively to lie overtly. Which is what you'd have to be doing now, wouldn't it? No, you're lying by misdirection about what someone else would do when they experience something you're claiming to have experienced when you lie.
The stars. But if it's day on the moon,
right,
and you're standing there, you look.
Why is it an if statement? When it's day on the moon, I experienced. What did he say? With his stuttery fumbling over his lies and deceit? Cat got your tongue? Bit of cottonmouth? As you paraphrase something you can't detail into a hypothetical that your interviewer is being described to have experienced. Let's hear that again.
And the night on the moon, you look out and you can see the stars. But if it's day on the moon,
right,
and you're standing there.
And you are standing there. Not when it was day on the moon and I saw.
You look up and it's black because there's no atmosphere.
There's no sphere-shaped air, begging the question oxymoronic sphere-shaped air clinging to the outside of the moon, like it did on the blue marble we look back on. No, when you go to the moon, you and your atmosphere will be very different to how I am describing it as having experienced. Go on, D.
I just want to say, besides all of the laws of nature facts that you've been breaking down, this seems redundant, but I'm glad we're doing this. I love the fact that you are exposing and highlighting his phraseology, because that slips by people sometimes, because not one time he speaks just like the narrator of the video. They, them, you. He never literally ever said we, I. And that's very important when you listen to somebody speak, whether they're being interrogated, whether they're being a witness, anything, when they're telling something that's supposed to be truthful, they're not going to use those terms if they're speaking on behalf of themselves. He's speaking of like a scenario. You know, if you cross the street with your eyes closed, you're going to get hit by a car. Not, I got hit by a car because I was walking across the street with my eyes closed. And that's very, very crucial.
117 people watching live. Please share the show if you've not done so already. The only reason we've got 117 people watching is because the regulars smashed the share button to get you all here. But a very warm welcome if you have just joined us. Please share the show. It's just 2 clicks. You can put this show out on your favourite social media platform, Bebo or MySpace or Facebook or whatever it is you use. So please share the show if you've not done so already. And a massive thank you to all of you who do regularly share the show. That's the only reason we've got 117 people watching.
But it's the sun shining, so you can't see the stars.
So on the dark side of the moon, you can see stars, because
it's almost like he's talking exactly the same as the astronaut that he's paraphrasing the exact same words for.
It's nighttime there. The bright sun is on the other side of the moon. But where the Apollo astronauts landed, and in any...
They didn't. They're liars.
...part of the journey to the moon... within direct sunlight, it's too bright to see the other stars, and the sky appears black.
Now, with all the evidence from LRO photographs.
So we're now very quickly off him talking about how the interviewer went to the moon and what the interviewer experienced. Now we're talking about LRO. Is that it? Is that it for your first-hand testimony, where you didn't once account for what you saw? Was that it? On to something else that isn't what I've experienced? Very telling.
Taking and seeing the lunar module in a car on the moon.
The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter he's
Oh, I thought he was talking about something else.
referring to here is a robotic spacecraft currently orbiting around the moon that...
No, he was talking about something that wasn't his experience. No, I was right the first time.
...has been orbiting around the moon since 2009.
Nothing's orbiting. It's a reification fallacy. That's why this is a cartoon. Yeah?
It's got 3 cameras attached to it, and it's taken pictures...
No, it hasn't. Nobody's taking pictures of the moon from a sky vacuum. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we're breathing would fill the space. You can't participate in reifications of church mathematics. That's not possible. This is all fake.
Pictures of all of the Apollo landing sites from the air since then. But these moon landing deniers aren't gonna buy it, because...
Sorry, you're suggesting that we've got pictures from the sky vacuum of the area they travelled through the sky vacuum to get to. So they're from the air. They're not your pictures. You haven't verified it. We can't take pictures of it from the ground. Nobody can. There isn't a telescope on Earth that can take pictures of the moon landing site. It cannot be verified by you or anyone else here on the ground. But what they've got the telescopes and they went and verified it from the sky. Oh, how lovely. You're so gullible.
These pictures are...
No, we haven't got the magic gold here. But the Munchkins take pictures of the gold in Narnia. Yeah, look, here's my Munchkin pictures. There's the gold.
Still from NASA, and they ignore
You keep
everything.
saying that we won't buy it as well, which is an interesting term of phrase to use.
Buy it? Yeah, because we need to be sold on this garbage. If it was just true, there would be no selling involved. Truth is truth. Like measuring elevation angles from a flat plane. It's the truth and it's required for everybody. That's why I can state Earth is flat. Without giving you any ideas of my belief structure. No need. Earth's measured flat. You need it to make your globe reification. To put men in orbits in sky vacuums with. That's how Earth's measured. Notice how there's no pause for thought. There's no need to think about it very much when it's a fact in regards to how Earth's measured. Go ahead, D. Or not. Shout out to Shatner's Bassoon.
I didn't say
Says,
anything.
get
I'm
this
sorry.
ginger off
I'm
my
sorry.
screen. Just kidding. Go ahead, D.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't take my hand up. I wasn't doing nothing. I was actually typing in the chat. I'm sorry. I just left it up
NASA
early.
tells them.
People are willfully ignorant if they don't believe that we landed on the moon.
Projection.
Yeah, pure projection. So we're ignorant if we don't believe. So evidence is what I would go by, as opposed to your belief in your description of a third party, in this case the interviewer, in what he would experience when you phrased what you should have experienced as what you would experience to the interviewer. You didn't experience this. We know you didn't experience this, but what? This is why you'll be condemned. Yeah? Because what, we should feel guilty for your deceit? Outrageous.
In fact, we talked to some moon landing
May God have mercy on your soul, lying old man.
deniers that were ridiculously extreme.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. We can hear you now.
I can't hear you. I don't know if it was other for me.
We're here to talk about the moon landing, so we'd love.
What the hell is this? This is go for the kookiest person you possibly could, right?
To get your thoughts on them if you want to just go for it.
The moon landing is an incredibly fickle fit. My wife.
Oh.
Hello, can you hear us?
Scraping the bottom of the barrel. Only views as this ad. Almost 500,000. Of course. For this garbage.
Mic broke.
Oh, your mic broke.
Why don't we just call him?
Hello, this is not the person you were trying to call. You've reached the rejected hotline. Unfortunately, the person who gave you this rejected hotline number...
I can't quite believe this dross gets 500,000 views.
did not want to have their real number. We know this sucks, but don't be too devastated.
Christian
from earlier did have...
Say again.
500,000 views in only 4 days.
Every single flat earth search inquiry is aimed at this.
One other point that I had Charlie react to.
And then there's also the spacesuits. Dude, if one of those spacesuits ripped, you know how
Nathan,
screwed they are?
Yeah.
It's apparent, but is that apparent? Is it not actual?
What do you mean?
As in the twist of the figures. No, there's not actually that many people watching it. They're just putting those numbers on so it goes to the top of the algorithm.
No, I think they can direct that many people. I think that's just down to views. The reason I think that's the case, as opposed to just they've made up the numbers, is because there's huge amounts of revenue that's divvied out amongst me and other YouTube videographers based on the advertising revenue, and they will have to account for that. Imagine if you were Nike and you'd paid YouTube for an absolute shed ton of advertising, and it just turned out that YouTube had fudged the figures. Or alternatively, your advert hadn't reached as many people as you would expect it to, and then when you looked at the numbers, they weren't real, and there was no actual impressions, they call them, reaching people to potentially offer your marketing to. So YouTube's primary concern, and this is what the stats are based on, is two things. Watch time, more importantly than anything, and views. How many times has somebody clicked on a video? How long have they watched it for? Why? Because they are, YouTube that is, only concerned with one thing, and one thing only. How long do you, the individual, spend on their website? Could it be more? That's it. That's all they want. YouTube's just a website. All they want you to do is engage with that website for as long as humanly possible. And they can gauge that in statistics. So if they lie about those statistics, they lose all credibility with their advertising. So I don't think that's the case. What I do know is the case is they can direct the tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of searches daily for this subject to Dave McKeegan and this guy. So that this dross is what you hear when you hear Flat Earth. If you're interested in the subject, this is what you'll be watching.
It's like 100 degrees different, man. And then they're like all walking around all happy, like, dude, you should be a little bit scared, man. You should be a little bit nervous.
So his argument is that if the spacesuit ripped, it would be devastating. You should be scared. They're not scared enough, therefore it's not real. Okay, it was almost like he got to the second law of thermodynamics violation, sky vacuum, that they claim to have a problem with the suit if it rips, because all the gas they're breathing in the suit would fill the vacuum, leaving them dead. And so would Earth. The gas would fill the vacuum.
It's easy to insulate a spacesuit to keep the sun's heat out, but what?
How do you insulate Earth to keep the gas in? Oh, you don't. You just travel through it in the rocket and no worries. You wave goodbye to high pressure gas and then take pictures of it from the vacuum it's not filling.
The problem in a spacesuit is the body heat. You're in this little refrigerator working like crazy.
I doubt that he's actually
U.S. citizen
operated in any realistic capacity in something that's realistically a spacesuit based on his language again.
Body heat. The body, without the cooling garment we had underneath the suit.
No, now I take that back. Notice his phrasing's changed, D. We had. So he's pulling this from an actual experience. In other words, at some point, he's worn a spacesuit. So now what we experienced, the heat that we had to endure, I bet this is real. I bet he did put a spacesuit on then, mate. This probably isn't a lie.
Seat stroke in about 30 minutes.
Just to expand on that a bit, Nathan, when you experience something amazing, you're not going to describe it like he is. Like, you're going to say, I saw this amazing thing and it looked like this and this is what happened. You know, you're not going to say it like he is. And I know this has been said before, but you know, just think about any amazing experience you've seen and how you would describe it, and you can tell this guy's lying.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I
Won't be able to
recently
shut up.
I recently experienced Aurora Borealis, and I was lucky enough to experience it where I know for a fact that others couldn't. So the phenomena was being described on Facebook. I immediately suggested my wife and I go downstairs to look at it. And the moment I walked outside, notice this is from my perspective, I saw an enormous light show covering the vastness of the sky. It was massive. And with my jaw on the floor, I went to my wife, "Oh my God, look at that!" And she went, "What?" I went, "What do you mean, what? That! Look at it, it's enormous!" She went, "I can't see it." Now, I don't know if it's because I'm colourblind, but she couldn't see it. Now, she got bored, took a couple of pictures and went back upstairs. I ran across the forecourt of this apartment block to the street where I saw two women walking across and did the same thing with them. I went, look at that, it's amazing, look, it's huge. And they went, "What is?" And they couldn't see it. Now, I'd taken pictures of it myself and you saw it in the pictures, exactly what I could see in the photos. But no one else could see it in that moment. So that's my first-hand testimony. Notice how that differs. It might be similar to his testimony about being in a spacesuit, but it isn't me saying what you would see if you were to look at the aurora would be this amazing light show that would cover your peripheral vision. That's very different, isn't it?
Yeah. Working on the lunar surface. So we had what we call a liquid cool garment that we wore underneath.
There is again weaving truth with lies. So he's described something he did experience with and then intersected that or interweaved that with a description of being on the lunar surface. So he's been very sparing with the addition of that lie, and the major of his discussion here is about something he has experienced, the suit and its operation. Sod the suit. Let's talk about space and your experiences.
The suit, and once you got zipped up, you could turn on a little pump.
So which would you focus on? If you'd been to the moon, not that you can, would you talk endlessly about the suit and how it functioned, or about your experiences from within the suit in an area that doesn't exist? Would you talk about the fur coats and how they operated, and how lovely the fur was and the animals that they came from, and how long the clothing manufacturer took to produce those fur coats, and how well they stood up to the snow? Or would you talk about your first-hand experience talking to a bleeding lion? No, you talk about how well made the coats are, because you probably did have one of the coats. You had a lovely fur coat. You just didn't travel through a wardrobe into a snowy land called Narnia with it. But you definitely experienced a coat, so that's what we'll focus on. And just say the coats that we used in Narnia were very well made.
And it pumped water through these tubes. Body heat kills you, not the sun's heat, because the suit is protected. This is a cover of a spacesuit glove, and it's made so that it's not going to be abraded away and will hold the pressure. We had enough water in our backpack to last 8 to 9 hours. So the whole
Probably true.
idea was to pick up the body heat through this radiator system that was a pair of a long
My God, this is boring. Pure chaff.
underwear, and take it to the backpack where there was an instrument back on the backpack called a sublimator.
I'm pretty convinced we had these backpacks. How about you? I'm pretty sure they're real, right? Everyone convinced that they produced these backpacks and spacesuits? Pretty sure we can verify it too.
And you push this water through the sublimator, and it was exposed to vacuum, and it all went off into space.
Ooh, really? How handy that the high pressure within this system could dissipate into the vacuum around you. So you're telling me that you're pressing buttons on your spacesuit and watching gas evacuate whilst taking pictures of a blue marble where it's not doing that? How interesting. Also a way of exposing you as an outright liar.
The water and the heat.
What did you say when you first landed?
Yeah, the water and the heat and all the gas we're breathing would all do the same. It would just vacate the Earth's surface if the sky was a vacuum.
And did it when you first stepped on the moon?
Well, I can tell you what I said when I first landed. It was, "Oh, Orion is finally here, Houston. Fantastic."
You did that on a stage, didn't you, old man? This is the pinnacle of your lies now, isn't it? You didn't do that. You didn't traverse the sky vacuum and land on the moon and say those words. You liar.
You know, the lunar module never had to have a speech when he got it. We were always second out. And so the commander had the little speech. Neil Armstrong had this little speech. And then Buzz Aldrin didn't say anything. He just jumped out. Well, that was my feeling. I just jumped out and started being ecstatic about...
Again, why hesitate? I just jumped out and started being ecstatic. Why the pause?
I'm on the moon. I'm on the moon.
No, you're not. That's why the pause, because you're about to make the biggest lie of the whole bunch.
Jumped out. Well, that was my feeling. I just jumped out and started being ecstatic about, I'm on the moon. I'm on
Yep, that's the lie.
the moon.
Okay, the camera is running. The 16 millimeter is running. Outstanding. Outstanding.
You could see all these major landmarks around, you know.
You could, back to him talking about what the guy who's interviewing him is experiencing. You could see all these landmarks, could you?
It was perfectly clear because there's no atmosphere on the moon, so you had no
No begging the question sphere-shaped air in Narnia.
haze or anything like that. Just all the way to the horizon, all the way around, it was a
That, with the backdrop.
sharp break between the lunar...
Sharp break between the curtain and the foreground sand that you put on the stage.
surface and the blackness of space.
Blackness of space would be a vacuum, you'd be dead, we'd be dead, nobody's travelling to the moon. This is a liar.
Things Charlie did on the moon...
He didn't. He just believed his lies.
...are amazing.
No, they're not. He didn't do anything on a moon, he did it on a stage.
But as he was about to leave, he did something fun.
So we were going to do the Moon Olympics. And
Oh, here we go. Another little backstory, chaff and redirect away from the actual event. So the actual words that we've had about the event are, I stepped off, pause, I was ecstatic because I was on the moon. That's it. That's the sum total of his description of one of man's claimed to be most highest achievements ever. About 20 words on the subject. The rest of it is about something that's going to now take place on Earth, the spacesuits that are completely inconsequential to what you have experienced, beyond the spacesuits themselves, and that's it. And everything else that's phrased about the journey through a vacuum that doesn't exist is describing how the interviewer would have experienced it.
And we decided we would do the high jump and maybe the broad jump. So anyway, we start to bounce, and my backpack or the life support system weighed as much as I did. So astronauts walked bent over to keep your center of gravity over your feet. So as I was bouncing, I gave a jump, and when I did, I straightened up,
This is from your experience. This is what you did on the stage. Now he's describing something he did actually go through to produce the material. That's why he's pooling from actual memories now.
Well, my center of gravity went backwards and over I went.
Wow. Charlie, that ain't any fun, is it?
And that was...
Was what? A complete lie? Drawn from experience on a stage?
Only time in the whole flight I had fear. But fear is not a bad emotion if you don't panic. So I'm going over backwards and the thought occurred, roll right. And I rolled to the right and I broke my fall on my right hand and my right leg. Bounced onto my back and I'm flat on my back and there's the earth right up there and my heart's pounded, but I'm still alive.
No, you're a liar. You're looking back from your position on the moon, staring at a blue marble with high-pressure gas not filling the space. You're a demonstrable liar.
And I looked at my pressure gauge. It said normal. Pumps were pumping, and I said, I think I'm okay. And John Young came over and looked down and says, yeah, that wasn't very smart, Charlie.
That ain't very smart.
I said, I know, John, help me up. And so he helped me up, and my heart was pounding, but I'm still alive. Mission.
Yeah, you are. Alive to tell another lie about being on the moon.
Control has seen this high jump record, but they didn't like it. They said, that's no more Olympics, guys.
Didn't get to do the broad jump?
No, we didn't get to do it. They
What an absolute crock of crap.
canceled the Moon Olympics.
Oh, man.
And I'm thankful they did, because never do anything in space you hadn't practiced down here.
Yeah, there's a tell. Yeah, practice down here, you mean you won't be doing anything in space because it is things you have done down here that you can pull on the experience from when you lie. We know exactly what the game is, mate. You rumbled.
Charlie still had one more moon landing theory to react to.
Why haven't we got to the moon after 1972?
We didn't go in 1972. We didn't go in 1969. We've never been. We can't go. If we could, then the rockets that are claimed to go there would be traversing past high-pressure gas that we're all breathing, waving goodbye to it at the Kármán line, entering a vacuum, and landing on a rock to look back at the gas that didn't fill the space, not filling space.
Doesn't make sense because there are a lot of people, a lot of billionaires, a lot of rich countries, especially here in the Middle East, that are ready to invest to be the second country or the second nation to reach the moon.
You can't reach the moon, you can't traverse the sky vacuum.
The question can be answered very simply. Apollo was so successful
at lying to everybody about reaching the moon
that they canceled the last 3 missions.
That they didn't want to continue lying and having people like you potentially rumble the entire lie. But you're a pretty good liar. You know, it's cognitively difficult for you to phrase it in the first person when you lied about a place you weren't at. But other than that, you're a pretty convincing liar. You convinced this ginger-haired kid.
18, 19, and 20. They wanted to start building the space shuttle.
Back to stuff that isn't involved in the most experience that he's got in the man's greatest achievement that he's there to discuss. Now we're back on the ground discussing nothing related.
And that took all the NASA budget. And they just finished this most successful program, so...
Amazing, yeah. Let's talk about the NASA budget.
Why go back to the moon?
Why bother going back through the wardrobe through Narnia? I mean, we've got plenty of stories of the fur coats already.
Well, the shuttle lasted for 20-something years. It first flew in 81, and it was still flying. And then right after that, they went to the space station to make a science laboratory in Earth orbit.
No, you can't make laboratories in mathematical reifications.
Which was all the nations of the world participated.
Yeah, they're all in on the lie, clearly. Yeah, you're at the pinnacle of it, aren't you? Lying through your back teeth about having been to the moon.
All that took all the money that NASA had. And so that's why it's been 50 years, because all the money went into these other programs.
Was it worth it? The money they gave you? I wonder if I was to sit in front of you and ask you that question, as you're pretty close to the end of your life. Was it worth it? Yeah? As you prepare to meet your maker? What if he's got a big pitchfork and a fiery tail? Will it be worth it then, all the money? Was that comfortable chair worth it?
The best part about all of this is that NASA is finally ready to return to the moon with
No, they're not. They've been telling you that for the last 50 years.
the Artemis missions.
Oh, really? So if I was to rattle off a whole bunch of others that haven't made it to the moon, it'd be a shock. It's a non-stop perpetuation of the idea that we're going next year.
People have already been selected to be the ones to return to the moon. Let me know if you want a video interviewing them. And
will they justify the second law of thermodynamics violation trip via the sky vacuum?
This time, the footage they send back won't be grainy black and white.
This trick that they're using is a psychopathic trick. It's called future faking. Let me explain. If you're a psychopath and you want to convince some woman to basically give you all her money, her time, her efforts, her love, what you can do is you can suggest to that person that you're going to give that person children and marry them. Tell them immediately. Now, does that mean that you actually have to book, plan, pay for a wedding? No. No. The euphoria that person experienced was experienced immediately. They immediately got excited about the future prospect of getting married. So therefore it served its purpose. She didn't need to go and get married. She already got excited about it. Job's a good one. Same thing applies here. We're going back to the moon. We are. Wow. That's amazing. Just in the future, right? We're not going today. I'm not getting on board today. I can't go and get a ticket and go to my airport and go now. It's in the future. Oh, I see. How lovely. The euphoria for the future endeavours of going back to the moon will be experienced by all immediately. How delightful. 12 months later. What happened to that going to the moon thing? I can't really remember. Should we go and ask them? What's that? When we're going back to the moon? We're going back to... I'm glad you asked. We're going back next year. Get excited. Woohoo! And so it goes on. It's called future faking. Very cheap, psychopathic trick.
All of this is in preparation for the first human to Mars mission, which is...
Ooh, I mean, we can future fake that too. Just throw that future faking in. We're going tomorrow. Definitely going to Mars tomorrow. It's a lie in the sky and a sky vacuum. We're not going to any of these lights. It's garbage.
Currently scheduled for sometime in the 2030s, and it seems like people are itching for it in order to believe it's real. So keep your eyes peeled and get ready, because the next few years are going to be fun.
No, the next few years are going to be future faking your way into believing that we're going to Mars next year, or the year after next, or the year after that, or the year after that, or maybe the year after that. We'll definitely be going the year after that, for sure.
In space.
Which doesn't exist. We're definitely going through the wardrobe to Narnia next year. Everyone excited, by the way? Video's almost at an end. We all excited to go to Narnia next year? I've had the fur coats sewn up. The wardrobe's been powered by the flux capacitor. We are going to be going through the wardrobe and meeting Aslan. Are we all excited? Can we get a cheer? Can we get a little Mexican wave going? Woohoo! We're going to Narnia. We've got the control room set up. It's going to be very official. There's going to be a whole bunch of guys in turtlenecks, all sat at little desks, looking at the wardrobe, waiting for it to get power. And when it reaches the power that it requires, they're all going to cheer. And when we stroll through that wardrobe into the snowy area called Narnia, they'll have a little radio broadcast. Mission accomplished. And they'll all cheer. They'll stand up. It'll be amazing. It's going to happen next year.
I'm proud to be an American. I'll tell you, what a program.
I am proud to be a Narnian here in Narnia. Talking to Aslan. How do you feel, Aslan?
And what a place and what an experience.
What a massive lie. Right, that's it. We're done. We've gone a lot longer than I would normally go on live stream. Covering that. Right, what have you all got to say about that? Because I'm done. That's the end of the video. Should really do another call to action, but I'll do that after you've had a little chit-chat. Or not.
Well, I went over there and said, Nathan Oakley sent me, yada, yada, and I had some other things to say. Nothing nasty, nothing disrespectful, but I don't know when this video was published. I don't know when this video was recorded, but I hope this is not like some type of reifying damage control. Let's rebuttal all of the plethora of flat Earth nonsense that we've been, dealing with, and this is supposed to put another stamp to reify their claim, because it just, to me, it's almost like they're stepping deeper and deeper into the quicksand, and they're making it even more obvious to the common listener, especially when you break it down like this, because they're redundantly saying the same thing, not proving themselves, and just reifying everything that we say that proves they're wrong. And then you put the stamp on it with your, your commentary, breaking it down. So I'm not sure what this was. I'm not sure why this was released. I know they're recruiting this ginger young guy, and he's getting paid for it, yada. But to me, I don't know. It's almost like it doesn't help. It doesn't really help. It sounds like an old man telling a story.
Well, shout out to Jack Gordon for producing the video. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. There is a link going by in the live stream chat as we speak. So please do it. If you're actually watching live, there's 125 people currently watching. Just click on the link, drop him a line. I will stay live for a few more minutes, so you're not going to miss anything if you do toddle along, and just leave him a quick comment so that he can hopefully, in future, if he was to respond to our debunking of this man's lies, the old NASA liar, then hopefully he'd make a video response and leave a link to my video. Send some of his audience my way, given that he gets all of the views from Flat Earth searches, where we do not. So hopefully we'd be offered some algorithmic love from Jack. Please let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Link's going by in the live stream chat right now. Anyone else got any comments on this? Thanks to 10th Man, by the way, for sending me that. It's 4 days old, by the way, D.
4 days ago?
4.
Wow.
Just wow.
So it was like one of those, this ought to hold them. This ought to do it. Let's send this one. Damage control. This will seal the deal. They'll have nothing else to say after this.
Shout out to Goldie for gifting another membership, and shout out to OBE Lines, friend of the show, for picking up the free membership. Thank you, Goldie. And thank you for all the lovely comments on my OMI videos. Any more for any more? No? With that, I will say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you gifted memberships, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit me up on Coffee and PayPal and all that good stuff. Obviously, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.